Hello, I'm Kelly, and I have ADHD. That's kind of like an introduction at Alcoholics Anonymous, isn't it? I wonder how many alcoholics have accidentally ended up at the AA instead of at a therapy meeting. That sort of accident doesn't happen in America though, because although they also have Alcoholics Anonymous, their version of the AA is AAA. This is because they love to put the word American in front of things. An exception to this, of course, is Captain America. I'm almost surprised they didn't call him American Captain, actually. I'm fond of Captain America, I'll admit. He's been great in the Avengers movies. I'm also fond of Captain Britain, who is less popular and less well known. His sister, actually, is Betsy Braddock, who you might know better as Psylocke. She ended up joining the X-Men. I'm looking forward to more X-Men movies too, what with the licensing issues being worked out. Do you remember the 90s X-Men cartoon? Oh man, it had one of the best theme songs ever! What was I talking about? Alright, ADHD. The experience of having ADHD, and for you neurotypicals out there, is like your brain being a browser. For most of you, you'll probably have one main tab open which you're reading thoroughly. You might have another open, ready to read or refer to, or perhaps some music playing from another. You might also have your calendar open. When you have ADHD, you have dozens of tabs open, and you can't remember opening most of them. 8 tabs are on Wikipedia pages. You opened one page to look something up, but ended up following several links and related topics, and suddenly, instead of looking up a simple fact like the population of Belgium, you now have tabs open about types of chocolate, the Habsburgs, and the chemical composition of Venus's atmosphere, just to name a few. One tab is on YouTube, with a paused TED Talk waiting for you to watch it. You can't remember what it's about, but you know you really wanted to watch it. Several days ago. One tab is on TikTok. It mostly shows videos of dogs. 3 tabs are dedicated to your hobbies or special interests. There's something you wanted to learn or do. What was it? You don't know. One tab has Amazon open. This is very dangerous, because you haven't even looked at your bank account for 2 weeks, and you're kind of afraid to. One of the tabs is entirely in Japanese. There are other tabs open. You can't remember what they are or how they got opened. Music is playing from one of them and you can't figure out which one it is or how to stop it. It's been playing the same song for an hour. It might suddenly change in 5 minutes. It might keep playing all day. And the calendar app doesn't exist. This is what it's like in my head all the time. It starts when I wake up, which is always difficult, and continues until I fall asleep. When I can, it can be frustrating, it can be exhausting, and it can be amazing. Sometimes I struggle to come up with a basic, familiar, language fraction. Yes, that. I know the word, but my brain simply can't access that information at that particular moment. Sometimes I forget appointments or things I need to do. I live my life by setting alarms for things on my phone. I'd be lost without it. I might forget someone's name or face, but I know them. On the other side of things, I can't remember a word, but I know a lot about so many different subjects and can sometimes add an interesting bit of knowledge to a conversation. I forget appointments, but from that I've developed a sincere journaling habit that brings me a lot of joy. I might forget your name, but I always know your favourite kind of movie, or what you do for fun, or what kind of pets you have. The type of ADHD I have is called inattentive type, which is honestly a bit of a misnomer. I don't suffer from a lack of attention. I suffer from having too much attention and the inability to direct it to where I need it to be sometimes. I'm aware of everything around me, which is probably why it's hard to sneak up on me. Yet quite conversely, if I'm focused on something intently, I can be utterly oblivious to anything else. I might not even realise someone is talking to me or waving at me. I can be sensitive to sensory input. Because of this, I'm prone to overstimulation, particularly when I'm in crowds. I can't always focus on a single voice in a group, so when people talk over one another, it becomes a sort of word soup, and it's completely unintelligible. I can get overwhelmed. Sometimes, when it's really bad, it might lead to an anxiety attack. Fortunately, my husband is an excellent handler, and I rarely go anywhere without him. He can tell when I'm upset, even when I can't voice it. It's not all bad though. I catch little details that other people might miss. I've spent so long compensating for my condition that now I often appear perfectly calm, even in stressful situations. This makes me useful in a crisis, as I often won't panic until afterwards, if I panic at all. I'm more likely to get mildly annoyed. I always speak softly and gently, even when everyone around is shouting and angry. I keep my temper and my cool, because I've had to for decades, just to fit in with society. I can usually find common ground with almost anyone. I've had so many hobbies and researched so many things, both deliberately and accidentally as I've become fixated on things, that I have a surprising breadth of knowledge. One of the key aspects of my disorder is a thing called hyperfocusing. If something captures my attention, I can devote hours to it without getting bored. The downside to this is that I've been known to forget to eat in the process unless someone feeds me. Some of the problems I have in a professional setting are probably unexpected. If I'm given too many instructions at once, then I might forget some of them. It's best to either tell me bit by bit or provide me with something written down. If I need to be reminded about something, please don't take it personally. It's just that it can be harder for me to access memories sometimes. I'm genuinely not being rude if I look at other things while you talk. I'm really listening, but making eye contact for too long can be a distraction for me and can sometimes actually be very uncomfortable. I do my best to meet social expectations, but sometimes I simply can't, or I don't understand what is expected of me. I might dress oddly, or say strange things, or, if given the chance, talk your ear off about a favourite subject. I tend not to socialise outside of work because I just don't know how, and it can make me anxious. This doesn't mean I don't want to. This definitely doesn't mean I don't like you. I'm happiest in small groups doing things that appeal to my interests, like going to a movie or playing games. A night out drinking simply isn't a good idea for me unless I'm already very comfortable with the situation. Most of all, I'm not special, I'm just different. And my experience of ADHD may be very different to another person's experience of the same condition. We're all different, with different limitations and different needs and different strengths. There are people with ADHD who make excellent drinking buddies, but there are those that fall apart at the mere idea of going out to a pub. There are people with ADHD who are completely time blind, but there are also those that are always punctual. Some of us are amazing dancers, singers, actors, musicians and artists. Others are brilliant scientists, mathematicians, engineers, doctors and innovators. Most of us are a little bit of both, I suppose. And the thing is, you can't usually tell just by looking at us that we have ADHD. It's invisible. You probably know way more affected people than you think. I've only touched on a few aspects of ADHD. There are different types, different expressions, and different symptoms. There's a lot more about mine than I can talk about in a single video. But one thing we have in common is that most of us never mind talking about it, so feel free to ask questions. We might surprise you with our answers.